Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. We've got quite a scary Halloween show in store for you today, and fireworks are always a big part of the day for a lot of you. But should we follow the lead of certain cities and outright ban them, or can they still be enjoyed safely? And while you may enjoy a spine-tingling story, do you believe in the things that go bump in the night? We'll speak to a paranormal researcher about her investigations, and we want you to share your own ghost stories. I'm Amy Bell, in for Michelle Elliott, and this is BC Today. Thanks for joining us on radio, TV, and on live stream. You can call us now on our top story. Should fireworks be banned? And if not, how should they be regulated? Our number is 604-669-3733. You can also call us at 1-800-825-5950 or just hit pound 690 on your cell phone. And of course, email us bctoday@cbc.ca. It was a dark and stormy night is how some of the best scary stories start, but it's not exactly what you want for a night of trick-or-treating. But for more on what your little ghosts and goblins can expect tonight, we have our weather specialist, Darius Mahdavi, with us. Hello, Darius.
Hello.
Would you like to share who you're dressed up as? I think I can guess, even though you don't have your marmalade sandwich.
I am Paddington Bear, and the hat doesn't really work with the lights, but...
You know what? This whole thing is working for me. It's adorable, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. So you've got the hat on. That's going to keep you dry.
Yep.
But what is the forecast for tonight's trick-or-treating? Is it horrifying?
Well, we've got a bit of a mixed bag coming up and still some uncertainty in the forecast because about half the models say that we're going to continue to be wet here in Metro Vancouver as we head into the evening, and half of them say we get a bit of a reprieve in the evening before the overnight hours. So what we can expect for sure is some heavy rain over the next few hours for the South Island and Metro Vancouver. We have a lot of moisture feeding into the province, and that is going to mean a lot of rain, especially for the North Shore. In terms of totals, we're talking anywhere from probably 30 to 80 millimeters of rain. Today and tomorrow, though. And what's going to happen is it's going to come in waves. So we're going to see some rain continue to pick up over the next few hours in Metro Vancouver and for the South Island. More northern sections of the island have already seen a lot of heavy rain, and it may start to, or will be tapering off pretty soon. The heavy rain is going to continue right through until half the models say about 6 p.m. It'll start to taper off and from west to east. So if you're in more western sections of Vancouver, there's a good chance still that we'll see that rain really start to calm down pretty quickly after 6 p.m. or so. So if you're willing to wait a little bit longer to go out trick-or-treating, then that might be a good bet. But the other half of the models are saying that the reprieve, which is coming for the island, almost certainly is not as likely to come here to Metro Vancouver. I have a hard time saying either way. I'm still cautiously optimistic. I think you have a fair chance of some dry trick-or-treating weather in Metro Vancouver, but I would bring the umbrellas just to be safe. And if you're planning to be a toilet paper mummy, maybe not the best choice this year.
That might not be the one that's working out for you this year, unless it's super absorbent, and then by all means, have at her. What about sort of the rest of the province?
The Charmin Bear, one of my good friends, as Paddington. Their stuff. Sorry, what was your question?
I don't even remember. Around the province, though, how are we looking for the trick-or-treaters?
Let's start in Vancouver Island. Like I said, that rain is making its way down south. So the central coast, northern parts of Vancouver Island saw that rain really pick up this morning, and it should be mostly moved off by the time we get into the evening. That being said, we may continue to see a little bit of lingering showers, some small cells of heavier precipitation continue to roll through throughout the night. So be prepared for that, but it's looking better there than it is here. If you are on the South Island, again, as usual, a less heavy precipitation than we get here, but you're still getting a fair amount of rain. And there it is more likely that you'll see that break in the rain around 6 p.m. to midnight or so. Okay. But also not quite guaranteed. And then for the interior, there we're looking pretty good. Many places even will have some clearish skies and precipitation a lot less likely. Some parts of the southern interior, like the Okanagan, towards the end of the trick-or-treating period, may start to see some showers break in, but even there, it's not super likely. I will say you should watch out for the winds in the central interior, because we have some strong winds that may continue into the evening, but the worst of it will hopefully be over by then.
And what about the rest of the weekend? Are we going to see any relief from this wet weather?
Yes, actually, we have another wave of heavier precipitation coming Saturday morning, so probably in the very early morning hours and then into the early afternoon. That is going to be the case for much of the South Coast. And then it should taper off into Saturday afternoon into some showers. And then Sunday, maybe even late Saturday, but probably on Sunday, we're going to see some breaks in the clouds, some sunshine. So Sunday seems like a pretty nice day. But yeah, unfortunately, the weather this year did not cooperate with the trick-or-treating plans.
I remember many years growing up and fighting with my mom and dad about having to put a plastic bag over my Halloween costume, and that just really ruining the vibe of so many of them. But my heart does go out to all of those little wet trick-or-treaters.
Well, growing up in Ontario, we often had snow on Halloween, like at least every few years. So, I mean, I honestly don't know if that's worse than rain. It's chillier, but at least you were mostly dry.
I say just like go as a fisherman, just head to toe,
Yes,
like
I've been
rainwear.
recommending that. Yeah.
Before I let you go, later on in the show, we're going to be talking about ghost stories. People that believe them and don't believe them. We're going to ask people to share. You're a very science-backed individual. Have you ever had a ghostly encounter?
I have not. I've never had a ghostly encounter. I know there's a lot of research in this that has found that a lot of people who experience sleep paralysis also tend to believe they've had encounters with ghosts, and that can explain a lot of it. But I've never had sleep paralysis, although it sounds
Terrifying.
horrifying. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd rather see a ghost than have sleep paralysis, if I'm
Yes.
being honest.
So maybe that's a topic for another show. I would love to hear people's experiences with that.
Well, thank you very much for that, Darius. Paddington. I hope that you have a very safe and happy Halloween.
Thank you. You too.
That is our climate and science and weather specialist, of course, Darius Mahdavi, aka Paddington Bear. It is 12:13, and this is BC Today. Yesterday on the show, we asked, are you having trouble getting a good night's sleep? We're not talking about sleep paralysis, but just a good night's sleep. And what are your strategies for getting more rest? Here's what some of you had to say. Sue said, I did a lengthy test using over-the-counter melatonin. I discovered that 0.5 milligrams, yes, that's small, helps me to fall asleep, but does not affect me the next morning. Personalized dosing seems impactful. It is not usually provided by a doctor, but should be discussed with your doctor along with discussing how and when to take it. Brenda said, over the years, I've learned that I need to stretch my spine before I go to bed. Sitting on the floor and touching my toes with legs as straight as possible is a needed nightly routine. At times when I'm not sleeping in the small hours of the morning, my best bet for getting back to sleep is to get up and do this stretch. Oddly, the flexibility I went to bed with is always gone. It can take up to 10 minutes to be able to touch my toes comfortably with ribs resting on my thighs. In bed after, I'm comfortable as can be and not off to dreamland within minutes. Spinal fluid, I've learned, needs to be washed into the brain so it can be cleaned out while you sleep. Maybe that's what's happening. And from Joanne, when women go through the change of life, they may suffer from sleep deprivation. Do hormonal changes impact sleep? I'm also thinking of teenagers when they are maturing. How informative are smartwatches, which track your sleep patterns and how soundly you sleep? There are so many different opinions of using this watches. Thank you to everybody that called and emailed with your thoughts. I hope you get a good night's sleep tonight. And here's another thing that might keep you awake at night. Fireworks. They may have a close association with Halloween, but BC has a patchwork of municipal rules around them. Some have total bans on buying, selling, or possessing or lighting fireworks. Some require permits you have to pay for, and some limit when you can buy and use those fireworks. So let us know, should fireworks be banned? And if not, how should fireworks be regulated? Call us 604-669-3733, 1-800-825-5950, or you can just hit pound 690 on your cell if it's safe to do so. And you can always email us at any time, bctoday@cbc.ca, and leave a comment on TikTok. Captain Paul Rushton is the Public Education Officer for the Burnaby Fire Department, and he joins us now. Good afternoon.
How are you doing, Amy?
I'm doing great. Happy Halloween to you. So
Likewise.
how concerning are fireworks during Halloween for you?
Well, one of the concerns we have in the first responder industry and being a firefighter is that people tend not to know how to discharge fireworks properly. Each person should check out their own bylaws and regulations to make sure fireworks are legal in their area to set off, and B, if they actually do not follow the rules, because a lot of people in our community choose to have fireworks over the rules on Halloween and special events. We really want to make sure that these people know how to use the fireworks, discharge the fireworks safely away from buildings, away from vehicles. It's always disheartening and upsetting when somebody's lit fireworks off and then somebody's house burns down 2 or 3 doors down or a block away. It's catastrophic, and it's not something we want to see on Halloween night. We want everyone to have a great time and be safe. And so.
And when you say, of course, a fire or a building burning down, that's obviously, the incredible worst end of the spectrum. But what are some of the other risks that people maybe don't think about when they're choosing to set off fireworks?
A lot of people don't think about the burns, the nature. People don't wear safety glasses, safety equipment. They could get hit in the eye. I've seen adult teenagers shoot bottle rockets at each other, and the risk of being burned and injured, possibly losing a limb, fingers to some of the unregulated fireworks that are out there. It's very dangerous. It can impact your life and impact the way you grow up in the future. Burns are very dangerous, very painful, and we want to make sure that everyone's safe when they're using fireworks.
Okay. I would never ask sort of which firework is a safer option, but are there certain fireworks that are perhaps more dangerous than others? And again, something that maybe people don't realize.
I would say all fireworks are dangerous. There's a reason for that. I mean, a lot of the communities, I can only speak on behalf of Burnaby where I work, but a lot of the communities are looking to ban and completely control and ban fireworks. I mean, if you do want to set off fireworks in a professional manner, you do have to get a permit. It does have to be signed off by the city and the local fire chief or designate. You do have to have a fireworks certificate or a fireworks course. So the fact that you have to go through all these hoops to be able to discharge fireworks shows the level of care that's needed when discharging them. So, to answer your question, which ones are good and safe and which ones are not, I would err as a first responder to say that fireworks aren't good. Yeah. I mean, you could have sparklers. I mean, I hate to be a downer, but sparklers are fairly safe and stuff like that.
And there's also the noise issue. It can be, incredibly disruptive to people trying to sleep. It's very upsetting to a lot of animals. And in terms of noise, that's also a big concern and upsetting for many people. We do have one call that's come in from Marv in Armstrong. Hi, Marv. What are your thoughts about fireworks?
Well, my concern is carbon footprint. We talk about the carbon footprint on everything else. And I've been last year in Armstrong. They did a tremendous, beautiful show, but the smoke, and lately on the news, when India was doing their celebration to talk about how terrible, dangerous the smoke was for human breathing, and we just seem to think, don't talk about it at all.
No, the environmental impacts are definitely a concern for many. The smoke, yes. In cities like Coquitlam and Port Moody, they say you need a 30 by 30 meter space for aerial displays and 20 by 20 meters for ground displays. Why would you need such a large space, and why do people need to be very careful of giving enough space?
Well, I mean, that's I mean, that's probably a very small scale footprint. The larger, the better. The space is necessary so that when you do put the fireworks out there and you engage in them, you have quite a perimeter around you for both the safety of the people, safety of the person lighting the fireworks, and safety of the people that are watching them. Also, knowing that your area is clear above, below, and around would allow that discharge of the firework to go up in the air and then safely discharge in the air and not have any fallout or bits and particles that could land on somebody's roof or somebody's backyard or tent or anything like that. So it's definitely a safety factor, and they are definitely warning people to stay out. We also got to remember these fireworks are mass manufactured. So, not all fireworks can work the same. You might have a firework that works the way it's intended, and then you have one that may catastrophically go wrong. So you definitely want that safety space around you so that nobody gets injured.
And I know in places like Surrey, you have to take a safety and legal awareness course before you can set off any fireworks. What would somebody learn in a course like that?
Definitely exactly what we just covered there. The safety, the requirements, the area, the distance, probably PPE, personal protective equipment that you should wear, glasses, make sure that the firework is in a safe, sanded, holding structure. And then once the fireworks are completed, that they are fully extinguished, you give them time, you put them in a bucket full of water so that they are extinguished, and you maintain that extinguishment for the rest of the evening so something doesn't happen.
And I know also in Surrey, they dramatically increased their fines for firework violations. They used to range from $100 to $5,000. Now they're $400 to $50,000. What difference do you think fines make? Is the threat of that actually a good deterrent for people?
Well, I think it's a level of enforcement that has to be there. You always have to have a level of enforcement when you're saying there is a ban on fireworks. There has to be some cause to illegally using them. The higher you get, I don't know how much impactful it's going to get. Education is truly the best value, knowing what the risks are, what could happen, what could cause. I am a resident myself of Surrey. I have 3 dogs, and just what you said there, pet owners, people that work shift work, people asleep. Fireworks going off 2-3 o'clock in the morning on a weeknight. My dogs are terrified. So I definitely echo the stronger penalties. And I think if people choose to go outside of that, then they should, make sure that they're safe so that they can protect everyone around them.
We've got a couple of emails that have come in. One says, from Roman, it says, I prefer to have it controlled in one area. If it's controlled, it could be more spectacular, less dangerous, and won't be happening in early morning hours. And he says, Happy Halloween. Happy Halloween to you as well, Roman. And that is another way, I suppose, that it could be a bit safer, just if it's one spot with plenty of space, controlled, and not too many people involved. Is that something that maybe people should be considering, sort of pooling their resources and just having one set display instead of having it going off all around the neighborhood?
Well, absolutely. The city of Burnaby had a spectacular show last Friday night at Central Park. They had a drone show, and then they also had a spooktacular fireworks display, controlled, protected, safe area, allowing all the people in Burnaby to come watch and have an opportunity to see it so that, they're safe and able to be in a controlled environment. So same thing if people around their homes choose to do it, if they can follow those rules, a cul-de-sac, a group of people, that, that probably would be the best thing for them.
All right. We do have another call that's come in, this one from Jan in Langford. Hi, Jan. How are you?
Not too bad, thanks. Nobody's blown off any explosives yet, but it's going to happen at some point. As the night settles down.
I suppose it is inevitable at times, yes.
I just wanted to mention that there's quite a few individuals who are on the spectrum, like myself. And when I say on the spectrum, I mean autistic. My youngest son's in his 30s. He's also diagnosed on the spectrum. Mm-hmm. There's something called the startle reflex, where you it's like a panic attack. And your guest is talking about control, and that's so important because when a sudden explosion happens outside your balcony or I'm on the ENN rail trail out here, and or even like the fire alarm goes off once a month. It's a total surprise every time I hear it. And so these sudden explosions can really, if you have a weak heart, you could be in trouble medically, is all I'm trying to say. So.
Well, Jan, I really appreciate you bringing up such an important aspect that I think many people wouldn't consider, that for quite a few people that they know, that response is really upsetting. It's as you said, it's that startle response, and if you do have other health issues, it can be very detrimental. So I appreciate that, and I saw you nodding there as well, Captain. So I'm sure you've encountered that in your job as well.
I appreciate Jan bringing that up, because that's some of the things that the public don't understand. Is there's unique individuals in our community that have medical situations, such as Jan's. And, we got to be favorable to everybody in our community. We want to respect the traditions. We want to respect the celebration, but we also want to respect the rest of the people in our community, that have that situation. I know when fireworks go off and they land in my backyard and explode, I mean, it's the same thing for me. It's like, whoa, what just happened in my backyard? So I echo what he says, and I definitely appreciate him bringing up that comment.
Yeah, me as well. I'm curious what it's like enforcing firework rules on Halloween as they're going off, and you're perhaps sort of trying to chase down people that are engaging in this activity. What is it like for people that are trying to keep these rules in place?
I think it's very difficult. I definitely noticed in my area of Surrey, bylaws was out in full force during the celebration of Diwali. They were trying to do the best job. I know our partners out there, the RCMP and our municipal police forces out there, doing an incredible job. But I think the biggest thing is just making sure people are safe. I mean, when you have that kind of action going on in an evening and everyone's so busy and trying to stay safe and protected, I think our community is the number one, and we want to make sure everyone's safe. So I think they do an extremely good job out there, and I wish them luck tonight. And I hope our firefighters and colleagues and first responders, everybody out there, get home safe tonight, because it usually is a busy evening.
I can imagine it will be, despite the rain coming down. It doesn't seem to dampen the desire for so many people to want to set off those fireworks. As I mentioned at the top, here in BC, we sort of have a patchwork of different rules and regulations in different municipalities. Why doesn't BC, or even Canada at large, have a single set of rules around fireworks? Is that something that you think would be helpful, or perhaps you could see coming in the near future?
I can see it coming in the near future. I know each municipality is doing their best to come up with their own bylaws and work towards that. And several of the communities are working towards a zero tolerance, zero selling, zero lighting, and allowing them to go off. So, I mean, we could see it in the future, but we also have to respect our different cultures that, like Diwali or situations like that. So it's kind of a difficult thing. We want to make sure that we look after all our people in our community and respect their religions and their cultures that do require fireworks. So it's something that'll have to be discussed, and hopefully in the near future they have a result.
I really appreciate you taking time with us today, Captain Rushton. It's been really great to speak with you. I hope you and your colleagues are very safe tonight, and that everybody is acting safely and responsibly out on the streets and neighborhoods tonight.
Absolutely, and I would hate to not go out with a shout out to Let's Go Jays. I mean, I gotta be biased. I mean, it's really important. I know we got Halloween tonight, but those Jays,
priorities.
What a remarkable team, and we jumped on the bandwagon to get this going.
I think so many people are on that bandwagon. So yes, go Jays. I know what you'll be doing tonight. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Amy. Appreciate it.
Captain Paul Rushton is the Public Education Officer for the Burnaby Fire Department. This is BC Today on CBC Radio 1. I'm Amy Bell, sitting in today for Michelle Elliott. And stick around. In our second half hour, we will have a paranormal researcher joining us. And we're asking for you to share your ghost stories and whether you believe in ghosts and things that go bump in the night. Robert Zimmerman is here now with a look at the CBC News to 12:30.
Good afternoon. The Supreme Court of Canada is set to decide next week whether to hear the case of the BC ostrich farm fighting to save its flock from a cull order. A list of leave application will be decided next Thursday. The farm's owners have been fighting the cull for 10 months, arguing the surviving ostriches show no signs of illness. Surrey Mayor Brenda Locke wants to see more police officers on the ground to help address extortion-related violence. She's calling for the federal and provincial governments to deploy 150 RCMP officers. Locke says recent shootings targeting South Asian businesses, homes, and families are a top priority. Police say there have been 39 extortion-related shootings in Surrey this year. And Environment Canada has issued a rainfall warning for Metro Vancouver, Howe Sound, and the Sunshine Coast. The heavy rain is expected this afternoon. People are warned to watch for possible flash flooding. Wind warnings are also in place for several areas of the province. And now a look at the rest of the forecast on the north coast. Showers this afternoon with a high of 9. Highs around 6 with a chance of showers in the Peace. In the central interior, including Prince George, cloudy and windy with a high of 11. Highs around 8 and mainly cloudy in the Kootenays. In the southern interior, including Kelowna, cloudy and windy with a high of 9. And for Metro Vancouver, Greater Victoria, and the Fraser Valley, lots of rain this afternoon with highs around 11. That's your CBC News update from Vancouver.
You're not really dressed in a costume, but I know
That's
that if
true.
you could, you would be dressed as a Blue Jays fan.
Well, I was wearing my Blue Jays hat,
You were.
but it's on my desk.
Oh, wait.
I can't get the headphones over it. So
It's a hazard of the job, I know.
it is.
What do you think the game's going to be like tonight?
I think it's going to be fantastic. Like,
What do you think the score is going to be?
oh, let's say 6-2 Jays.
All right. We'll take that. Thank
Okay,
you.
sure.
Of course, if you are a Blue Jays fan, something is likely going to scare you tonight, and that is the thought of them letting the World Series title slip away. The Blue Jays just one win away from clinching it, and tonight could be the night. Fans are flooding Toronto's Rogers Centre for a chance to witness Canadian sports history. But fans back here in BC are closely watching from afar. Here's what some of Vancouver had to say.
I've seen both World Series. I'm really impressed. I have to be honest, I was a little worried about the Dodgers. I've got two kids, 7 and 10, and it does remind me of when I was about that age.
Started to follow the team when I arrived here in Canada around 6 years. Around 6 years, yeah. I buy my head and I don't take it off, just never.
They're going to be up against some tough pitching, but it'll be good for them to be back at home and win it there.
Go Blue Jays, go!
After a stellar showing in LA this week against the Dodgers, the Jays return home to Toronto with a chance to win their first World Series in 32 years on Canadian soil. Toronto currently has a 3-2 lead. Game 6 will see Jays pitcher Kevin Gausman match up against the Dodgers' Yoshinobu Yamamoto. And if you remember, the two last faced each other in Game 2 when Yamamoto pitched a complete game and the Dodgers won 5-1. If you're okay with skipping trick-or-treating plans tonight, you can catch the game starting at 5. And Halloween is the time of year when maybe the shadows feel a little longer and the unexplained feels a little closer. And while most of us will laugh off a creaky floorboard or a flickering light and maybe rationalize a bump in the night, there are many people who believe there is something out there, something beyond this world. So, do you believe in ghosts? And have you ever had a scary or unexplained encounter? Or do you just think it's all make-believe and overactive imaginations? Call us now. Just hit pound 690 on your cell phone, or you can call 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, and you can email us, bctoday@cbc.ca. Just leave a comment as well on our TikTok Live. Joining us now is Kelly Berge. She is the president of the Vancouver Paranormal Society, which was established in 1993 and contains a team of researchers who help investigate paranormal activity. Good afternoon to you, Kelly.
Good afternoon, Amy.
So what first sparked your interest and fascination with the paranormal? Was there, a moment or one experience that sort of set you down this path?
Yeah, I've told the story so many times.
Tell it again.
I will. When I was about 10 years old, so probably 1972-ish, all of our neighborhood friends in the North Burnaby area went exploring. It was in the summer, and we went to the sugar shacks
Okay.
behind Pete's Market on Sperling Avenue, and which is fine. These shacks are just really old, dilapidated shacks, and they, in one of them, there were some floorboards missing and a mound of dirt, like looked like a grave, and a tattered hangman's noose hanging over it. You know, the thing of urban myths, right?
Sure.
So I went home that night and I went to bed, and probably within about 10 minutes, I turned towards my closet door beside my bed, and I saw a floating opalescent skull, and it was vibing.
Oh, wow.
And it stayed there. Yeah, and it was just floating there. And I was so scared. My mother went into the hall closet, turned the hall light on, and that was my cue. I was out of there, and I never slept in that room again.
Wow.
So that obviously piqued my interest. But back in those days, we didn't have the internet. So it's not like I could do a whole lot of research. And I was 10, let's be honest.
Not known for their investigative journalism at 10 years old.
No. So yeah, I mean, so that stayed with me, and I've actually had many paranormal experiences in homes I've lived in, and even recently. Yeah. So
you know, and you say, you know, the one when you were 10, you're seeing this skull in front of you. But I would think, you know, perhaps when people talk about having some sort of encounter or seeing something, it's not always that, you know, maybe scary or dramatic. What are some things that people, you know, might think is an encounter, or that you would consider that they should think about?
Well, you know, my experience, I don't think people see things like that very often. I don't even know where that came from. Certainly didn't come from our house. You know, we get a lot of claims, people seeing shadow figures, or, you know, things at the corner of their eye, things like that. You know, things move in their home. They hear voices that really shouldn't be there. Cupboard doors opening and closing, all sorts of different claims.
I do have a call that's already come in, Kelly. I'd like to go now to Sheena in Victoria. Hi, Sheena.
Hello.
Have you ever had an encounter?
Yes, I have.
Oh, do tell.
Right. So I definitely believe in spirits. I think the human spirit endures. I don't know for how long it endures, but I certainly believe that it does. And the day my father died, well, I was not frightened because my father was the gentlest person and certainly was not frightened. The day he died, he came to visit my house. So I had just gone to bed, and all of a sudden my dog started growling. And just kind of a low-key growl and staring fixedly behind my head. And so I realized it had to be my father visiting, and I just went, oh, hi, Dad, hello, Dad, reached my hand up. And then he went to my daughter's room, where apparently he spent hours. She, unfortunately, was frightened. She was 13.
Yeah.
So, and I asked, because I didn't find this out until the next day, and, you know, I said, well, why were you frightened? It was Grandpa. But she was 13. And I've had friends that have seen spirits. They're sort of keyed in that way. I'm not keyed in that way, but I quite often see the future, and I once saved a whole bunch of children's lives because of something that I did because of seeing the future.
Wow. We're going to have to...
There's lots of spirit energy.
We're going to have you back on the show, Sheena, to explore that side of things, but I really appreciate you sharing that tale, and of course, sorry for the loss of your father. And Kelly, you know, when we talk about, you know, somebody feeling like they've had an encounter or seen a ghost, that can, you know, immediately make you feel scared or terrifying. But, you know, how often is it that people have these encounters and it actually brings them some peace, and then they feel that somebody they love is with them?
Often. you know, I can give an example of that, and it's actually quite recent. We have a new investigator on our team, Nicole. She had contacted me through our website, and I spent some time on the phone with her, as I do with all potential clients, trying to understand what's going on for them. And she was in tears. She was so scared. She had just moved in, I believe, months before into her own home in Aldergrove, and was having all this crazy activity, like in your face activity, seeing things, cupboard door rattling, like all sorts of things, orbs with her own eyes, seeing that.
Wow.
And, we worked with her very closely, and she was part of the investigation process. And so we basically showed her that it's, ghosts are people too. That these spirits that are in her home are likely just trying to get her attention, but they haven't caused her any harm. Well, she's now an investigator with us, and she's loving her house and loving the spirits that are there.
And, when somebody does reach out to you, what are the way they're feeling? Are people, if they want to have you and your team come to them, are they quite often in fear? Are they just curious? Are they excited? What do you typically see in people that reach out to you for investigations?
They're anxious. They're scared quite often. And quite often there's kids involved too. So, they're the protective mode of the parents comes through as well, right? So, yeah. So, we just come in and and try and document anything that's happening, or find reasonable explanations for the activity that they're having. It might be environmental, which means not paranormal. And that's always a nice thing for a client to hear, that we haven't found anything over several investigations, and that, we're coming up with reasonable explanations. But barring that, we're collecting data through our devices to validate the claims that the clients are having. And that alone can ease stress.
Just not being told that they're crazy. What kind
Exactly.
What kind of instruments do you use? I'm always curious. We see in movies and such, the meter that flashes red when there's a ghost in the room.
The most important mainstays of an investigator's toolbox is a digital voice recorder, tight-fitting set of headphones, and a good night vision camera. The other devices, usually EMF devices like the K2 device and the REM pods and things like that, they're mostly proximity detectors.
Okay.
So they're picking up EMF, which is electromagnetic fields, because it's emitting that. So we're all made up of that EMF energy. Okay. The difference between us and someone who's passed is that our body is housing it, and now they're just they're free floating energy now, right? So they can manipulate those devices, and we can use that as a tool to communicate using yes/no answers, that kind of thing. I really want to specify that those EMF devices, when they go off, that's not evidence of the paranormal. It just is we kind of use it as a tool to lead us in the right direction with our questioning. And when we go back and listen to our audio after the investigation is done, we're listening to hear if there was an EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, right around the time that device had lit up.
So you're correlating between a number of things. I do want to head out to the phone lines now. We have a couple more people. Keith in Vancouver. Hi, Keith. Do you have a ghost story to share with us?
Yeah. I'm from Nova Scotia originally, and there's a book by the name of called Blue Nose Ghosts, okay. And the author was Helen Creighton. And a lot of really good stories, really interesting stories. Some of them I can imagine where they might have happened. Excuse me. But my grandmother, actually, and my grandfather's brother were in the book. And it's a very short barely 20-second story, but basically we're talking kind of 1930. They were coming down a road, going back to the house after Sunday evening church service. They made a turn on the road, and the whole house was lit up. And I thought, oh, people must have come over, must be having a bit of a gathering. We didn't know. All good. We made the next turn on the road, and the house is absolutely, totally dark, and there was no one in the house whatsoever. So just things like that. There's some longer ones in the book as well, but it's probably real. I'm lucky enough to have a copy of it and signed by my grandfather's, my Uncle Grant signed the book and everything. So it's really quite neat to discover that as a kid. Another thing is that I wouldn't call it necessarily paranormal, but I pretty much call in annually on Halloween because I do certainly miss the Dunbar Haunted House. It was incredible. But I volunteer at the Dover Court Crypt right now in North Van.
Oh, wonderful.
And absolutely incredible haunt put on by Mark and his partner Liz. And the probably 10 different rooms, highly recommended, all volunteer, all the charity going to the firefighters burn. And they have a lot of tarps, everything is covered. So even when it's going to be raining heavy in North Van tonight,
I was going to say
at 6 o'clock, maybe it's over, but they put on an absolutely incredible 10 different rooms, the mirror room, and if you're lucky, maybe I'll see you as a clown there tonight.
Sounds incredible, Keith. Thanks for that. Good spot to get out of the rain, indeed. We'll head now to Dawn in Harrison Lake. Hi, Dawn. Do you have a tale to tell?
Yeah, first off, just want to say to Kelly, we're of the same age, and I grew up in North Burnaby there and went to Pete's Market quite a bit, but don't remember the sugar shacks. Other than that, big fan, Amy, of you and a lot of the personalities and listen to CBC regularly.
Well, thank you,
So my
Don.
story, just a quick story. I worked in charge of a cemetery for 20 years, and I was constantly asked if I ever seen while I was working there, and I says, overtime or that late at night. So, but one time I was staying late to do studies in the lunchroom there, and happened to look out in the middle of the cemetery and saw a dark image just walking across the grass. So I called over to the other building where my manager was, and I said, "Do you see the image out there? There's no car. There's nobody had walked in, anything like that." And he said he saw the same thing. And then we went to look back, and it completely disappeared. There's no way the person could have left by a vehicle quickly, and there's no way they could have run across the field that fast to get out of there. So it was just the only occurrence I ever had over 20 years anyways.
Wow, Dawn, thank you for that. Gave me a little chill. And Kelly, that's actually, in a sense, what I wanted to ask you about is, I understand many skeptics, and there are lots of times that there are explanations for what people are seeing that are not supernatural. But when it comes to two or more people experiencing the same sight or the same sound, how do you present that to skeptics?
So that's a personal experience validated by another person's personal experience. And so that's a really important piece for us too. While it's not proof or evidence for us, we do document it in our reports when we give it to the client, because that alone validates the client. Yeah.
All right. We do have another call that's come in from Linda in Nelson. Hi, Linda.
Hi there.
And
I do have a little bit of a ghost story.
Love to hear it.
We're from Russian heritage, and begins with my mom had passed away, but actually during that time, there's we have a 6-week period where you can't remove anything from the person's belonging, no clothes, no mementos, nothing, because the spirit is still there, so you're not supposed to touch anything. So it was funny because I was in a grocery store, and a couple of girls I've never met before, they were talking about funerals and something that they know that happened to somebody. And what had happened is that they came, their loved one came back, and they said, if they come back, you have to send them on their way. You have to tell them you have to go. So 6 weeks, just before 6 weeks, my mom came to visit me. I was snoozing on the sofa, and it was a very hard tap on my shoulder. She was a very needy woman, and I saw her kind of in my dreams, but not visually. But I knew it was her, And because I remembered what this girl said, I said, you know what, Mom? I says, she was very elderly. I said, this is something you wanted. You didn't know why you were living so long. All your friends had gone. We gave her the funeral that she wanted, a big affair. And I says, you get going on your way. You go visit your friends, go visit Dad, and don't come back. And she never did, but I know it was her.
You can always tell when our mother's around. Thank you so much for that. And Kelly, again, we hear these tales of loved ones coming to visit us, and perhaps that providing a little bit of comfort. I want to talk to you a bit more about skepticism. You know, there are many people that are hard fast in their belief that there is nothing to do with these paranormal sightings, with ghost sightings, UFOs. How do you talk to somebody like that in explaining your line of work and explaining your beliefs?
Very respectfully. You can't make somebody believe in what you've experienced, right? I mean, I've always been a believer myself, but with a touch of healthy skepticism, and that's a really important piece. You know, so I guess I'm more open to the plausibility of things happening that I've never experienced before. But with a full-on skeptic, I would think that they had that scientific brain going on and not really leaning into the other side of that, right? And that's fine. It takes a skeptic and it takes a believer to form a team, you know, that way you can be held accountable, right? And so there's value in both. But you can't change the mind of a skeptic unless they've seen it for themselves.
Oh, and I appreciate the respect and the understanding, and that, yes, we do need two sides of a coin. We have another call now from Joe in Comox Valley. Hi, Joe.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. Happy Halloween. Have you had any ghostly encounters?
Of some kind, I believe, or just evidence or reason to believe the universe and the world is much more mysterious than some people believe. Before my incident or situation, I wasn't a very spiritual person. I was very much somebody who just thought the world is a physical thing only. So, yeah, I was out for a walk in June of 2019. It was a beautiful summer day, and there was a path into the bushes, a trail, where it got very dark and very gloomy very quickly. And suddenly I had the worst feeling of existential dread, like the world was ending, and just a feeling of evil and gloom and death, really. I would compare it to what you would imagine the feeling of seeing a mushroom cloud in the distance and knowing that, let's say it's the Cold War and it started and it's everything's ending. I get home shortly later, and I get a call from my mother, and my dad has had a heart attack, and he's being flown in a helicopter at that moment.
Wow.
And she's in tears and barely able to get her words out.
Wow.
So I believe that it's possible that I felt her fear and her worry.
Yeah.
And I actually took a photo of the dark and gloomy trail because I was so spooked out by it. And I asked her days later, oh, when do you think the heart attack was happening exactly? She gave me the time, and I looked at the timestamp on the photo, and it was when I took the photo. The heart attack was when I took the photo.
Incredible.
So, yeah, my point why I wanted to make the call was I just wanted to say to everybody out there that thinks the world is purely physical to just keep an open mind, and maybe you'll experience something one day that'll... because I never felt those kinds of emotions
until
and feelings in my life. Yeah.
Joe, thank you so much.
The closest thing I'd ever felt was as a small child, a an absolute terrible nightmare or something like that.
Right, but this was more real. Joe, I appreciate that, and Kelly, you were nodding and sort of agreeing that until you've had that experience, you won't know what it's like. But when people have these sort of experiences, does it really change their outlook on, maybe life and death or what the universe holds?
I think so. I mean, the universe is, it's magical.
I always like to say I believe in magic.
Right? I'm of the thought that if you can think it, it's possible. I mean, to manifest it, right? Like, there's so much more about us and the universe than meets the eye. And I've learned that in my career as a paranormal investigator, but I've also learned that personally in my life growing up and having these experiences. And it's a beautiful place. I don't have any fear around the paranormal. I've been doing this for about 12 years now. And I have a, what's the word I'm looking for? I feel connected to it because I know it's part of who we are, as beings.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
We are right out of time. I could talk to you for hours, Kelly, but I really appreciate you taking time with us today, and I hope that you have an incredible Halloween night. Stay safe.
And you as well.
Thank you. That is Kelly Berge. She is the the president of Vancouver Paranormal Society. And you may have noticed that I have a few people joining me behind. So we have quite the costume crew here at work today. We've got, what do we have? We got Moira Rose. We've got the Louvre robbers. We've got, what is this? I love it. Everybody looks great. We've got devils, we've got jellyfish, we've got Superman. It's incredible. I want to take the time, though, to thank everybody for calling in and joining us on the show today. That is BC Today for the day. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will be back with you, of course, on Monday.
Happy Halloween!